Hello again. This is Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics for this, the 29th of January, 2952 or 2022 if you're stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting us for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. We're glad to have you with us. I'd love to hear more from you if you're interested in hearing more from us. We're a lawful good organization focused on roleplay, exploration, and social interaction, and are currently active and recruiting on Spectrum and Discord. Okay, so we're going to be doing just a very quick and dirty how-to on OBS Studio. We're going to revisit this because it's been a little while. And then go do some Xenothreat. So, OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software for anybody who is playing Star Citizen and wants to stream it. Or even if you don't want to stream it, but you just want to record something, then OBS Studio is for you. Why? Because it's open broadcast software. Open meaning that it doesn't cost you anything. It is open source. It is community developed, and it's fantastic. It really is. You can find it at obsproject.com. Like you see in the screenshot there, download your version, whether you're using Windows or some other sort of communist operating system, and then install it, and you're off to the races. It's a pretty simple interface. Let me get my handy dandy laser pointer here. Pretty simple interface. Once you get it installed to wherever it is, you'll have a set of settings that you'll have to set up. They are pretty much self-explanatory, and if you do not, then you'll notice that the standards that it sets up with should be good enough for you. If you're not sure what you need to change, then probably just going with the defaults will work 99% of the time. Plus, on the obsproject.com site, there's also forums and community chat in there where it's very easy to get somebody to help you if you need it. The main window, as you see here, is comprised of basically 6 portions. What's called the canvas. This is where you can see this is where you can set up your scenes and stuff, and this is what you're going to end up being broadcasting out whenever you hit start streaming or start recording. You'll have a scenes dock control area down there, sources, audio mixture, scene transitions, and of course the controls over on the right. And we'll talk about which each one of those does. Basically, the biggest thing, the most difficult thing to get your brain around if you're not used to doing broadcasting or any sort of transmission type software before, then the idea of sources and scenes. Sources is basically anything that can go in that's going into your presentation. So it could be a video source, like from a camera, web camera, DSLR camera, something like that. It could be a video source coming from, say, another monitor. It could be an audio source, such as microphones, or any other sort of music stream coming in from anywhere. It could be browsers. You can set up a set of sources by hitting the plus, adds another source. It opens up a wizard where you can actually see what all of the different possibilities are, and then you can add those sources. You can change their names and all that that you want. If you have a source that you add in and you're like, no, I don't want that, you can hit you can highlight it and then hit the minus sign to delete it. And of course, then if you hit the little cog wheel for whatever source you have highlighted, will of course open up properties, and then you can adjust the properties. You can hit the up and down arrows to move a highlighted source up and down in the stack. So this is much like Photoshop or other not video, but other image editing software where you have layers, and whatever's on top will occlude whatever's underneath it. So this is where you can layer things on top of each other. So like in this case, as you see up here, this the black is the background of the canvas. This gray box is back. The darker gray box is obviously back behind. The lighter gray box is back behind this colored RGB test pattern box. So that's how those things are layered up. The little eye you can click on, turn those on and off to turn a source on and off. It will still be here. It just won't be shown into the thing. And then once you get a source set up in here the way you want it, if you don't want to accidentally move it around or scale it, like you can see this selected source, this light gray box here, image, has, when it's selected as the source, this must be image 3, the light gray, then it will have a red bounding box around it, and with these control points where you can drag and resize, or you can drag the whole thing around inside the canvas. And then it also will snap to edges, centers, all of that sort of thing as well. Once you get it to where you want it, if you don't want to be able to accidentally move it, then you can hit the little lock icon. That lock will close, and now you won't be able to select that to move it around, so that you don't accidentally move something around once you've got it set. So those are all the different sources, and this is how you build a scene. So a scene is a set of sources, any kind of sources: video, audio, browser, image, anything that's going to be in here, you can be set as a scene. So, and they can be duplicates of other sources that you already have in other scenes, or they could be completely new ones. So this is how, basically, if you were a broadcast studio and you were the nightly news, this is where you could have one scene that was all of the cameras and microphones and everything that was set up on the anchor desk. And then when you got cut over to the large-breasted weather girl, then you'd have a whole nother scene that has a whole nother set of sources, that has the camera, microphone, the green screen, the image that's going on the green screen behind her, and all of that as another scene, so that you, with one click, switching between scene 1 and scene 2 and scene 3, you can switch between all of these sources all at once. So the scenes are how you actually control what you're transmitting at what time, and a scene consists of sources. Anything that has an audio, any source that has audio, whether it's actually is an audio source or whether it's something like video that has audio embedded in it, will show up here in the audio mixer. There are two audio mixes that are always there. That is the desktop audio. This is whatever is coming out of Windows to your speakers. That mix will be up here in the desktop audio. And then if you have a microphone, whatever the default Windows default microphone is right now will be the mic/auxiliary audio. Those are always there, and you can't delete them or get rid of them. However, you can always mute them, of course, if that's not what you want. If and when you add sources into a scene that have audio associated with it, then additional mixer volume knobs and controls and meters will show up, and they will stack up in the audio mixer one after the other, so that you can individually control each of the mixes into what you want going out the stream to your people that are watching. Scene transitions are exactly what the name says. The default is a 300 millisecond fade, so when you click between scene 1 and scene 2, it has a 0.3 of a second crossfade from scene 1 to scene 2, fade through black very quickly. So it's actually fairly fast. The eye almost doesn't see it. And then there's also there's a whole, you can hit this pull down. Fade is the default, but you can hit that pull down, and they have several. They have, wipe left to right, wipe right to left, wipe up to down, blah 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 blah, all those different type of scene transitions. And then of course the controls over on the far right. Settings is exactly what it says. That will duplicate coming up here onto the main menu bar up here, and finding the settings selection, and where you can set up the settings for OBS. And all of that. Studio mode, instead of just having one canvas, it'll have a canvas on the left and a canvas on the right. The one on the right is what you're transmitting. The one on the left is where you can prepare and you can see what hits next. And then there's a big button in the middle that says switch, and it'll switch from it'll basically switch the left to right. So this is actually more how actual studios do it, where they can see what they're going to send out before they send it out. They can make sure one last visual double check, and then they hit the big switch button in the middle. OBS Studio can run that way if you want. Most people don't do it because it's just a little unwieldy if you're not doing really super complicated stuff with your scenes. Start streaming is exactly the button. When you hit that, whatever you have set up in your settings to be your streaming platform, whether that's Twitch, YouTube, I think Facebook, they got a million of them in there. When you hit start streaming, it'll say, here it goes, 3, 2, 1, bang, and now you are streaming out to the world. You hit start recording, just exactly the same way. Whatever directory you have set up in your settings to be your record into directory, it will put a time and date stamped recording from when you hit start recording until you hit stop recording. These are not, by default, these are not connected to each other unless you set them that way in the settings, where you can have, when I hit start streaming, automatically start recording as well. So if you have it set that way, because that's not the default, then you would see that when you hit start streaming, the start recording button would also turn itself on at the same time if you have it set up that way. I do not. A new feature with the latest version is actually OBS version 27.1.3, I think it is what we're running. And they have added, in version 26, they added this virtual camera, where even if you don't have a webcam, you could use OBS to transmit, because of the pandemic and people being housebound, where you could use OBS as a as a camera source to transmit into other applications like Discord, Zoom, Skype, any of those others, Teams, any of that other stuff. So that's basically how you use the interface for OBS. Very quick. That was just, like I said, just very quick and dirty so people can see it. If you're interested in streaming, even if you're not interested in streaming, I would also suggest taking OBS, getting it downloading and getting it set up once, just in case there's anything, whether it's gameplay or academics wise, or if you're helping somebody out, capture video or capture screenshots. Screenshots is not hard. That's just Star Citizen already has that built into it, so you don't really need OBS for that. But if you're trying to capture video clips, you don't have to necessarily, just because OBS is made for streaming doesn't mean you have to hit that button. You could have OBS just to record, and it does an excellent job at that. So want to make sure everybody knows how to have that available to them if they want it, and if they think they'll need it, or if you ever decide to help us out with any sort of a video capture thing, then we'll probably ask you, hey, can you make sure you capture it in OBS. Anyway, that should be it. Oh yeah, one last thing, they also added in recently the ability to have plugins, basically. And so now there are plugins that'll allow better integration with things like Twitch and YouTube, and all that sort of stuff. So where you can have the actual like Twitch chat or YouTube chat will be another dockable module that you can have up in the corner, and things like stream activity feeds and all that sort of stuff. That's fairly new. Again, I think that only came out in version 27, which has made OBS even more broadcaster friendly. So you can actually you don't have to be looking away to another spot just to like read the chat and look at your OBS control interface. You can have your like stream chat. That's probably the most useful one I've seen for this. Okay, any questions real quick before we go fly? I will tap dance for a second or two to get past the 6 to 9 second stream delay. Okay, I'm going to assume there's probably not. Alrighty. In that case, that wraps up this installment of Academics with Foghorn. We hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me via email, Gilded Spectrum, or of course the comment sections below. I will answer to the best of my ability as soon as I see it. Members or visitors alike, please hit those follows and subscribes buttons as appropriate, and leave us a comment. We actually do read the feedback, and it does help us as we're always striving to improve our content. You can find out more information about the Aurora Republic at our bespoke website, aurorarepublic.space. Or, of course, on Spectrum at robertspaceindustriescom/org/AuroraRep. We'll see you next time. It's Foghorn signing off, wishing you a very pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, and or evening, and thank you so very much for watching.